So,
It
okay,
is.
a couple things that come to mind that I want to talk about with you as you go through this process. So, the first thing is selectivity. So, I always warn people not to be too selective, like not to be overly selective in this process. And here's why. We don't know who's going to show up and show out, right? Like
Yes,
people
true.
think like, oh, we can do a DISC assessment and I'm going to base it off their personality and all of this and blah, blah. But we just don't know. Like I always call these people sleepers, but there's going to be people that you hire that you're just like, I don't know if I expect a whole lot of them. And they quietly kick everybody's ass. Like they
Mm,
come back after their first week, they've got 6 contracts, and you're like, whoa, okay. Like we don't know what kind of relationships they have outside of this. Just because somebody's not like the quintessential, like sales personality where they're like really outgoing and super confident, stuff like that does not mean that they can't sell roofs to their friends and family at a bare minimum, right? Like we don't know. And so when it comes to like selectivity, we're not really trying to be that picky. Now,
okay.
you get the luxury of being that picky if you have crazy numbers coming in, right? Like if you're like, we can only fit 15 people in our conference room, so I have to pick probably 18 people, assuming that 15 actually show up, right? And that's a different thing, but we're not trying to be super super selective because remember we've dumbed this down. It's not. You remember when I said this? I used this example and I said the question is not do you know how to bake? Are you going to be a good baker? The question is do you know how to read and follow basic instructions? Because we're going to dumb this roof cells thing down so much that anybody that's got two brain cells to rub together can do it. And the thing
Right.
is, even if somebody only joins the team and sells 5 roofs, that's like 100 grand in revenue, right? And
Mm,
so we have to expand our mindset on recruiting. The as cool as it would be that we just hire some people and now they're locked and loaded and our team is set, that's just not the reality. Like
right.
recruiting is going to be an ongoing process. And I always tell people like there's two kind of approaches to it. In the beginning, you're going to be doing what's called an aggressive cycle, which is we're just trying to get a core team and then it's a maintenance cycle, right? So aggressive is like we're running these rounds every couple of weeks because we're trying to get to 5, 10, 15 sales guys that we can kind of count on 70%, right? And then from there,
Right.
it's a maintenance cycle, maybe once a month or once every 2 months or something like that. You're adding a couple people. We're adding a couple people because some people are going to fall off. Some people are going to
Yep.
underperform. Some people are going to blow our expectations out of the water, but we're always kind of bringing new people in. Now,
Yep.
the reason that that's relevant to your situation where you're talking about like, hey, we had hired some people that in the beginning were like really kicking ass and they were being really productive and their numbers really high. And now they're just kind of like they're declining a little bit in their performance. Well, we can beat that team and try to get more out of them all the time, which we're partially going to do, right? But the other part of this is we're not just relying on those people that we hired. We're still bringing in new people all the time. So if these people like have given up or whatever, they're burnt out or tired or whatever, obviously we're going to invest energy into those people, but we're still going to be bringing new people in so we don't have to worry about like dragging the bottom up to the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
it does.
yeah, it's like this.
Because I, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. We have a tiny audio lag, so just talk over me. If that keeps happening, just talk over me. I would rather deal with it on my end.
Okay. Yeah, because yeah, I think I might have, and that's what watching your video, it did help me like change my mindset because I'm thinking like I need to do everything that I can to make sure that they're successful and changing like watching those videos kind of helped me recognize like no, we got to do whatever's best for our business. If that's this
Yes.
person, great. Not, we're going to have to find somebody else that is, you know what I mean? And so I feel like that literally helped tremendously because every time someone had an off week or something, I would just be like, God, like what is going on? Like what am I doing wrong? What am I missing here? You know what I
Right.
mean?
That was such a good, I love that you had that aha moment saying like, hey, we have to do what's best for our business. And it's really easy when you're a business owner and not a psychopath, that the people that you bring on, like, you really believe in them and you really want to see them succeed. And like, we get really emotionally tied up in those people. And that's not wrong, right? Like, it's good to actually care and like be invested, but there's a certain line. Like, at some point, if you're constantly just focusing on these people, it's like kind of like in a relationship when you date somebody that's like, you're dating their potential. And it doesn't matter how much you try to change them and like support them and encourage them and like just try to draw their potential out of them. People are not going to change unless they want it for themselves. And sales reps are going to be the same. Like, there are going to be certain sales reps that you see a lot of potential in, but they don't have the drive to do that for
Yep.
themselves. Then you're going to
Yep.
see people who they might not be performing as well as like some of your top players, but they genuinely want to. Like, they're eager for your guidance, your leadership, and your direction. So you're going to learn, like, it's really about leadership. Like, who am I going to be investing my time and energy into? And it's like the 80-20 rule, right? Like, we invest 80% of our time into the top 20% of our talent, right? But sometimes people leave their 20% alone and they just keep trying to like slave drive the bottom 80%. And it's like, that's kind of a fool's errand in a lot of cases. Your job is to, you create the environment, right, at your business, in your company, where you give them the environment and the tools and the culture to be able to succeed. You give them the resources, and there is personal attention involved in all that. You just have to learn where the line is. Like, am I just beating a dead horse here? Like, this part, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? So part of that is just going to be, you'll get into that rut if you only have so many salespeople and you've stopped recruiting because you're like, well, this is it. Like, I got to get it out of these people, right? That's not the only avenue to getting revenue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So